In this Kidspiration activity, students will build both pictographs and bar graphs to represent data about their transportation to school. One option is to complete this activity as a whole class with the use of an interactive whiteboard or data projector. Students can each come up and drag a symbol into the appropriate row to represent how they got to school. Another option is to take an initial survey by either making a list or a tally chart, and then students can work individually or in pairs to build their pictographs within Kidspiration based on the collected data. In addition to building graphs with technology, a lesson or unit on data analysis should include making graphs using concrete manipulatives, such as color tiles, counters, or objects on a grid. While it's important for students to be able to collect data and create graphs, it's equally important that they have plenty of experiences interpreting graphical representations. Spend time as a whole class talking about the graph, or post questions for students to answer. For example, what was the most common way to get to school? How can they tell from the graph? The row of buses is longer than any other row. How many more kids rode the bus than walked? How did they get their answer from the graph? There is one more bus than there are pairs of shoes. What did the symbols in the other category stand for? Elicit answers from students. Some may have biked to school or skated, for example. Based on how many kids picked other, should there have been another category, such as bike? What was the least common way to get to school? Was it riding in a car, simply because that row is the shortest? Or might it be skating or one of the other modes of transport represented under other? These are excellent questions to pose to students. You may want to have them come up with their own questions about the graph to pose to another class or to their parents. It's also important for students to draw relationships between different types of graphs. Another key graph for elementary students is a bar graph. This template allows students to work in MathView to graph the same data, but using color tiles to build bar graphs. You might choose to print the pictographs that students built in PictureView and have some students build their bar graph based on the pictograph, while other students build their bar graphs based on the original list or tally chart. Students may want to choose colors that have meaning for them, for example, yellow for a school bus or gray for the color of their car. You might have students add totals to each row to clarify their graph. They can also add text to summarize their findings. When they are finished, compare the two graph types. Do the pictographs